And just like that, the year is almost over. Where did it take you? What are you proudest of? What are those moments that are going to linger with you for the rest of your life? I imagine not everything this year went the way you expected, so how did you handle the surprises? What did you learn? As you face another year, another new set of adventures and challenges, what are you looking forward to? There's this exercise I see people do online a lot at the start of a new year, and it's picking a word that they're gonna just declare over the year ahead. It'll be something like cool or purpose or brave, and that'll just be kind of like their rallying cry for the year ahead. So I found that approach just doesn't work for me. Like, life is too unpredictable, there's too many plot twists, and if I pick a word in January, most likely it'll be irrelevant by the time April comes around. So instead, I've gotten in the habit of doing this exercise at the end of the year, where I pick a word as a way to look back at the past 12 months and kind of synthesize this whole wild experience that is life. So last year, my word ended up being voice. I had learned so much about influence, about my communication skills, and most importantly, how to steward them. This year, the choice seemed a lot less obvious. It took a lot more creative thinking to figure it out. But I think I found a candidate that works. All right, so here it is. My word for 2021 is... Okay, sorry to have to do this, but I'm going to keep you all in suspense for just a little bit longer. To really appreciate what this word means and why I chose it, we need to do a little replay of my year, 2021. We started our year off quietly, at home with a 1-year-old who we just got down to sleep. At this point, the pandemic was at its worst, and while we hoped this year would give us a chance to take on adventures that weren't on the table for most of last year, we knew that wasn't going to happen right away exactly. We were hungry for some new scenery though, so we spent an extremely cozy weekend tucked away in a cabin in the San Bernardino Mountains. And it was here that I decided to start taking on more deliberately savoring moments by making videos.
I think this pandemic and turning 30 and becoming a dad has made me realize how quickly time goes by. I'm already a good chunk into my life overall. And I'm realizing that life is too short to not leave room for the stuff that you love and that make you feel alive, I am planning to make a lot more videos, kind of like this one, maybe more topical and a little bit more focused than this one has been, but I always said that my dream job would be to host a travel show.
It was a great trip and one I remember fondly. But shortly after getting back, I received the worst news that I'd get all year. A very good friend that I work with was killed in an accident. She was one of the brightest, kindest people out there, and this was a really big loss. Losing Kirsty put me in a similar spot to where I felt a lot of people were at this time. It seemed like everyone I knew was grieving some sort of loss. At this point, I wondered if that might just be an overarching theme for the year: grief. Of course, I hoped that wouldn't be the case because that would indicate a year full of stuff to grieve. But maybe I'm more okay with that now than I would have been at the start of the year. Grief isn't a problem to solve, just love with no place to go. And nothing heals that isn't grieved. Okay, so this is my Google Doc with my goals that I set at the beginning of this year. Let's go over these and see how we did. This is also going to give you a sense of how I break down my goals and my targets. Okay, so things I wanted to start. I wanted to start planting over 1,000 trees each year, and I did that this year, primarily through, donating the trees, right? But I did physically plant maybe like 5 or 6 of them, so cool. Using Adobe After Effects to create maps and infographics, especially for these types of videos, check, I figured that out. I could definitely get better, but I learned. And number 3, I wanted to start supporting 4 artists via Patreon, because I'm all about supporting artists, and unfortunately I only supported 1. So congrats to Chien and Greg for, the Patreon support. Things I wanted to stop. I wanted to stop making to-do lists because I wanted to be more focused on the process than the product. I think I succeeded at this earlier in the year, and then stuff happened where I just needed to go back on the to-do lists to get everything done. So that's like half credit. I also said I wanted to stop paying so much for housing, and what I meant by that was refinancing, because at the beginning of the year, that was a very good time to do that. We did that. We refinanced our house, but then we sold it so we could move into a bigger place we are now paying more for. So as it's written, I didn't succeed at that goal, even though I succeeded at what I meant by that. My other goal was to stop eating meat on Tuesdays. I've done meatless Mondays, and I'm trying to ramp it up by adding another day each year. Success, and we're gonna do meatless Wednesdays in addition to the other 2 days starting next year. Places I wanted to visit: the Hoh Rainforest, Alaska, and a new country. Of those 3, I only got around to the Hoh Rainforest. Bummer. I thought travel would be more back than it was, and I also didn't see us getting pregnant for the majority of the year. So, hopefully, those other 2 are doable in 2022. Things I wanted to learn. Japanese cooking. I definitely started strong there. Kind of faded down the stretch, but hey, I still know some tricks that I didn't at the beginning of the year. I wanted to learn all about moss, and I definitely did some deep dive into moss. In fact, that led me to the Hoh Rainforest. Finally, I wanted to learn about green banking, eco-friendly investing, and if you've seen the video I did on that with my friend Mei Lin, I think I got it. Okay, stuff I wanted to make. I was aiming to make 2 videos every month for this channel, and you are watching 24 of 24. So, as soon as I hit publish on this, check. I wanted to do 24 digital drawings. That's 1 every other week, pretty much. And I think I more than did that. I exceeded it, and I am pretty happy with how my style has evolved on that front. The other goal was to just figure out what I'm even doing on TikTok, and to do that by coming up with 60 plus videos. And I've done that as well. I set some reading goals. I wanted to read about housing and segregation, and the books The Color of Law, Caste, and The Sum of Us were really helpful on that front. I also wanted to read 7 books related to climate and nature, and so here's the list of the ones I got to. And I finally wanted to dive into reading Octavia Butler's books, and so I read Kindred, Parable of the Sower, and Parable of the Talents, and was just blown away by how much insight she had looking at the future. I also have some goals here for stuff I wanted to watch, and this list reminds me of the state the world was in at the time I wrote it. One of the goals was to watch a movie in a theater, and I did that. I saw Roadrunner, the Anthony Bourdain doc. I wanted to see 3 Asian-centric movies that could be, lead actor Asian, director Asian, producer. So I know I saw Shang-Chi, The Eternals, 14 Peaks, that counts. The Rescue, it was by Jimmy Chin, and Minari. So I also said I wanted to watch the series Lovecraft Country, which I don't know, I feel like that ship has sailed. I'm sure it's cool, but hearing that it didn't get picked up for another season kind of deflated it. Finally, here's my list of things I wanted to try. Again, a reminder of where we were when I wrote this in January. I wanted to try getting the COVID-19 vaccine. I wanted to try using LinkedIn more, and I don't know why, because I succeeded at that, and in the spring I got a lot more active in LinkedIn, and then I just I remembered why I don't like LinkedIn. On the other hand, I said I wanted to try high-quality mezcal, and I did this whole tour in Oaxaca of La Ruta de Mezcal, and so I think of all my goals, that was the one I truly knocked out of the park. In March, freshly vaccinated, we were able to go to Arizona. Seeing Reese play in the snow in Flagstaff or on the Red Rocks of Sedona, those are always going to be fantastic memories. We had such a good time that a couple weeks later, we had our biggest discovery of the year. We were pregnant with twins. I had always wanted a bigger family. Never quite thought we'd arrive there in quite this way, but we'll take it. After soaking in the discovery, we took our next trip, a road trip up to the Pacific Northwest, where we'd mostly be sharing our news with friends and family members along the way, while also revisiting a few of the places we used to live and discovering some new spots. Seeing Reese have fun by exploring places like the Hoh Rainforest or some of my favorite Portland neighborhoods, that was a refreshing reminder that adventure will always play an important part of our family, even at times where seeking adventure really isn't all that convenient. Speaking of adventure, in the summer, I finally got to leave the country for the first time in way too long. I didn't even go too far outside the country. Oaxaca is a short flight from Tijuana after crossing the border, and there I would be working with a couple filmmaker teams on various video projects and a documentary. While there, I got to do one of the things I enjoy most, spending time in the communities, talking to people, interviewing them and hearing their stories. People like Don Carlos and Esperanza. The hospitality of the communities we visited was incredible, especially the one that threw a full barbacoa feast for us, just to celebrate our visit. That, combined with planting trees, sipping mezcal, and exploring the Zócalo, made it just about the perfect trip. Oh, and there was this powerful moment. After Kirsty passed away, lots of her friends and family donated to have trees planted in her honor in Mexico and the Dominican Republic. The Plant with Purpose team in Mexico had met her once, and yet they did everything they could to ensure she had a proper memorial. It was incredibly moving when they invited me to plant the first tree. Alright, you might already know this, but I'm a total sucker for those lists and those rankings magazines tend to put out every year, talking about the best movies, the best books, etc. Barack Obama always shares his favorites. Anyway, I'm going to do that too. So number 10 is the book Goodbye Again by Johnny Sun. He has this knack of blending a really sharp sense of humor with melancholy and a touch of what's meaningful in a way few people can pull off. Number 9 is the album We Are by Jon Batiste. Jon Batiste had one heck of a year, going back to the end of last year when he did the score for Soul. We Are, the album, and in particular the song We Are, is such an anthem. To me, it gives off the vibes of just being part of a community, part of a culture, part of a group that's just unified and strong and solid. Yeah. Number 8 is actually a trio of adventure documentaries about mountaineering and cave diving and sorts. They are The Rescue, 14 Peaks, and The Alpinist. And I am bundling these all together because I watched all 3 of them on the same week while I was on paternity leave, and they're all so good. Number 7 is a podcast, completely arbitrary. Every week, these guys review a tree and assign it a ranking. You're not supposed to take it too seriously, but at the same time, you end up learning a lot about trees and nature, which is really cool. Number 6, I don't often include visual artists on here, but maybe I should more often, because this year I was all about the art of Chuck Styles. I discovered him because of his collaborations with Topps, the baseball card company. He did really cool illustrated cards of guys like Andrew McCutchen and Shohei Ohtani and Josh Gibson. And he did a whole series with Topps, actually. When I first discovered his work, I noticed a lot of similarities between his visual style and mine. Of course, he's way more refined at his craft. But I really appreciated it and started to draw some influences from his style. I also looked at some of his back work and was amazed. Some of it is really good, and when I have the money, I want to get massive prints of some of these in my house. Number 5 was the very popular Netflix series Lupin. It was just a lot of fun and a good reminder that watching stuff should be fun. Lupin is a super charismatic, super suave thief detective, and yeah, I hadn't enjoyed watching a series like that in a long time. For number 4, I'm doing another package deal here. These are 3 books that have greatly shaped the way I talk about climate change, which is great because I'm a climate communicator for a living. Anyway, those are We're All Climate Hypocrites Now by Sammy Grover, Saving Us by Katharine Hayhoe, and All We Can Save, which is written by a bunch of women authors, but edited by Dr. Ayanna Elizabeth Johnson and Catherine Wilkinson. Number 3, another book, and this book resonated with me so deeply. It was Crying in H Mart. You know I love the Asian market, and for me it's more than just about the food. I mean, it's totally about the food, but the food means so much more. And yeah, Michelle Zauner talks about grief, talks about culture, and reconnecting with her heritage, her parents. It's all there. Number 2. I'm at this age where I don't discover new music the way I used to. Thankfully, that wasn't the case this year because I discovered Jelani Aria. He had one of the few albums this year that I think I just love start to finish. Every track on there, especially Marigold, A Piece of My Mind. So many reasons I like his music, but mostly just the kind of chill but very alive vibe it sends me. Last one. An animated series on Netflix called Maya and the Three. If you haven't heard about it, it's because I don't think this is getting anywhere near the amount of attention it deserves. I'm not going to talk about it much more because I think I'm going to do a whole video on it sometime soon, similar to how I did a Raya and the Last Dragon breakdown. I dug it that much. Alright, back to my year. I got back from Oaxaca, and the second half of the year immediately turned into a scramble of preparation for the twins to arrive. We knew our 2-bedroom upstairs condo just wouldn't cut it for a family with 3 young kids, so we went on the housing hunt at a really absurd time based on the housing market. For a while, our weekends were dominated with open houses, Zillow searches, and trying to figure out what to do with our dog while potential buyers came to visit our place. Then, we found a nice little rental, 10 minutes away from my parents, with one of the most important features to us: space. Moving into our rental wasn't our first choice, but it was clearly the right one, the right house at the right time. We made our move quickly and settled in. Reese had to handle a ton of changes at once: a new daycare class, a new house, and the upgrade to a toddler bed. And he handled each of those like a champ. But as our due date inched closer, we found ourselves squeezing in whatever adventures we could possibly manage. In mid-October, I ran a half marathon in Albuquerque. That was a bit of a surprise to me, because when I found out we were having twins, I expected them to come early. I cleared my calendar as far ahead as October. But they hung in there, all the way to 38 weeks. Then, on November 29, we got to say hello to Kai and Juniper. Oh boy. There's your mama. Mama did it.
Hey, baby. Mama, up.
Who's that?
Hi.
Who's that?
Duba. Yeah.
And you got the big brother seat. So the past few weeks have totally been the adjustment period. Having 3 kids under 3 it's what it sounds like, right? All the little things you got to think about too when you have brand newborns, it's all coming back from when we went through this with Reese, except now that go round feels so much easier because it was just him and not 2 of him plus a 2-year-old. That all said, I'm still hopeful that there are a few big adventures in store in 2022. I've got this hope to go back to Africa for the first time in, how long has it been, 5 years? I have no idea how feasible that would be, but I'm hopeful it can happen. I'd love to do a trip with, the whole family, the kids, and maybe this is just a crazy ambition and I'll look back and think that was a ridiculous idea, but maybe I won't. And, my whole life has been just trying to go for it and see what happens. So coming up with a word for this year was not easy. It was such an extreme year. It had everything. It had grief and loss, but also birth and growth and a lot of newness. So trying to find a word that kind of captures all of that was really tough to do. But I think I found it. Now this is perhaps the most abstract way I've approached this ever, but I think it kind of works. Hear me out. Word of the year 2021 for me: circle.
Circle together.
Standing in a circle. Circle of protection.
And there was a chunk of time where this was Reese's favorite word and he would repeat it at every opportunity. I really don't know why it was Reese's favorite word, but every time he would just see a circle on the side of a building or anything, you would just have to trace it. And the other thing about circles is it's a really intimate shape, right? You think of my inner circle, or these people, you're my circle. And right now where I'm at in life, with my family being as young as it is, so much of my energy and attention is directed towards that inner circle, towards those who are immediately right in front of me. And I'm very used to being like a very broad global thinker. And so this is a good exercise for me, learning how to best take care of those right in front of me and develop my more nurturing side, which isn't one of the first traits I think of right away, but it's an important one. Anyways, I told you that was going to be abstract, and here's the reason why I went with circle, because what the year ended up showing me was that so many parts of life that we feel are contrasts, like birth and death, like grieving and healing, they're actually all part of the same cycle. I'm really thankful I got to spend some time in Mexico this year, and one of the things I really came to appreciate about the culture was the perspective on death just being a part of life. It wasn't a taboo topic. In fact, in many ways, it's celebrated. When you lose somebody, that's still something you mourn, but you have celebrations, especially in a place like Oaxaca, that show you the vibrancy of something like Dia de los Muertos, to remind us that, yeah, these actually go hand in hand. This feels very like, I don't even know the right philosophical terms, but like Zen or non-dualistic, there you go. There were some absolutely difficult moments, and there were some incredible ones.